How y'all doing? Welcome to Woodshed Antics. If it's your first time here, welcome. If you've been around a while and you continue to show up to support the channel, thank you from the bottom of my heart. As always, like, share, and subscribe. That helps grow the channel, allows me to keep chasing the stream. Today, we're talking carver's arms. What is a carver's arm? How do you build your own carver's arm? What does it take? How much does it cost? And some useful tips and tricks if you decide to build your own. Stay with us. So let's answer the first and obvious question. Do you need a carver's arm? A carver's arm is going to hold your work for you. Now, when I first started, I remember I'd be out in my shop. I'd have a piece of wood literally sandwiched between my legs. I'd be hunched over it, trying to support it and carve it. And I usually ended up breaking something or getting the burr caught in my shirt because you're just cramped up. You get done with a session of carving, your back and your neck hurt. And I'm just not that young anymore. It gets very uncomfortable very quick for long carving sessions. If you're looking for another way to hold your piece while you're working on it, or if you're working on intricate pieces and you need them held, a carver's arm's for you. So let's go over the build. So if you're building your first carver's arm, a couple of things that I would point out. If I was to do this, and which I have, again, I would do a couple of things. First, I've toe-nailed this into this support up above. This has a giant lag bolt that is into 4 pieces of 3/4 inch ply and attached to my workbench. And what that gives me is a level and robust platform to work off. This is level left to right and front and back. This 4x4 is level. That only becomes critical when I'm starting to make complex curves and I'm doing them on multiple levels. So the first thing is dimensions. I've modeled this after my own arm. It's not perfect, but it's close. If I put my elbow down here and my shoulder up here, that's about from joint to joint. And my hand's a little longer, but overall, this is the same function. Those are the dimensions that I would start with, and I did start with. This ended up a little bit shorter because of this piece I cut in here. If you can see that, it's just a knuckle basically for this to rotate on. The most expensive part of the project, well, 5/8 rod's gonna $5 to $7. The most expensive piece are gonna be the nuts. If you go with wing nuts, those can be anywhere to $2 a piece. You can buy a whole box of 5/8 nuts, 25 of them for $5. So for $10, you can have all of the metal rod that you need with nuts if you don't go with the wing nuts. Now the wing nuts just provide a little bit of speed. So if I was a power carver building one of these, I would use wing nuts. If I was a knife carver using giant knives and a mallet, I would probably just use the nuts and I would tighten them down with a wrench. So the next step we're going to talk about is attaching your work to the carver's vise or the carver's arm. So there's a couple of different ways, and the first and most common is a carver screw. So a carver screw it's a nut. Some of them have big wings on them. It's a tapered nut, very coarse threads. Starts out, some of them, and they make them in different lengths. I'll put a link to these in the description so you can go check them out on Amazon. Now, if you buy them on Amazon, I'll know I'm an affiliate of Amazon. If you buy them off Amazon, they give me a commission for the sale. You don't have to buy them from Amazon. You can buy them wherever you find them, but I'll show you the link. They're $30 for 2 of them. And how you do this is this is a big hole that's drilled in the bottom of here. You can go clear down to this. It's, I don't know, 3/8. You'll want to drill it so you can get a good bite. The bigger the piece, the bigger the bite you need. This screws into the bottom. I have this little wrench right here, and there's a little flat spot on the carver screw. You can tighten that down. This nut goes on the bottom. That is the most common way to attach a piece of work. Now, I can move this wherever I want, so I can carve at any angle. And if I get tired and I want to hold my hands down here, I can carve down here. If I'm really working on something intricate, it could be up here. Now, that's how you attach the basic carving to your carver's arm. If we're talking about how we're connecting our projects to this, let's touch briefly on a smaller piece. So if I was to try to get this carver screw up inside of here, by the time I'm done, the hole's going to be quite large. I might even run the risk of splitting this. So one of the things I've done is I've just taken a regular 2x4, drilled a couple holes in the bottom. This is probably a 3/8 hole. This is stepped up to a little bit bigger to accommodate the bit to get in there for the screw. Now this fish is broken and it needs a lot of work, but it had, from the first time I made it, this piece in it already. So what I've done is went ahead and put this screw up in the bottom of it. Now I can run my carver screw adjacent to the other hole. I'm not going to screw this down, but as you can see, now I can attach this to here and hold a little more intricate of a carving. I've hot glued pieces to here. I've ran a single screw up through the bottom and attached this directly to it. There's a lot of different ways that you can attach stuff to your carver's arm. And that's a benefit, it's a blessing, and it's a curse in itself, because sometimes you spend more time trying to figure out how to connect the carving to it than it's worth. But at the end of the day, when it works and you have that extra hand, that's pretty priceless. Let's talk about some of the pros and cons of a carver's arm. Now, one of the cons is this is bolt in my workshop. It's here, this is where this belongs. I don't often, I'm not able to just drag this outside and use it outside and make a mess out there and bring it back in the shop. It's fixed to my workbench here and it doesn't move. And that's also a pro too. It doesn't move. It is pretty solid. Now, one of the other cons that we could talk about is this is similar to the human anatomy. But once you understand your human anatomy, you can understand your carving arm. This is unstable. If I'm trying to do something out here, it's pretty unstable. That's a downfall of a carver's arm. But one of the beauties is I could drill additional holes down here and put additional supports in to make this rock solid if this is where that piece had to be. Another benefit is I can flip some of this around. I can hold the bottom of my carving and work on something that will be hanging, which sometimes is complicated when you've rolled it around and you're trying to imagine it upside down. That's another benefit of this. And I can move this anywhere up and down. So I can accommodate a chair, sitting, standing, working under. This is really useful if you're into that type of work, if that's the stuff you're doing. I hope today's project gets you thinking about different ways to manage your projects and the way you hold them. And you know, that third hand is really wonderful. Sometimes you drive yourself crazy thinking about opportunities to build jigs and different ways to attach carvings. I know one of the benefits, one of the pros of this is I've been able to leave work attached and get it up here kind of out of the way of everybody and store it for long amounts of time, right? If I'm out of town for a week and I put my stuff up here and I'm not worried about it being on a bench or falling off or stuff falling on it, they're kind of a useful thing to have around the shop. The cons again is this is bolted to here. It can't leave with me. It doesn't go with me. It stays here in the studio and that's where it lives. So I hope today's video got you thinking about it, and we'll see you next time.